Hello, it's me Lanning with Culture Mosaic, VTV International's weekly culture journal. Now in this edition, we'll travel to the Mekong Delta region to see what our Mother Nature has endowed to the area and how all that scenery has been attracting tourists to the region. And later we'll talk to James Dương, a Vietnamese photographer who has earned international recognition. And last but not least, indulge yourself in the unique Japanese traditional sports of kendama, so stay tuned. Discover Jiasu Indigo Forest in An Giang Province. Vietnamese photographer earns international recognition. And kendama, a cultural biting sport. Now first, let's check out the most vibrant events the local culture scene has to offer. Long An Museum in the Mekong Delta province of Long An is preserving a collection of gold artifacts and a stone statue of deity Vishnu from the Funan Up-El culture site. These are two of the 37 artifacts that received the Prime Minister's recognition as national treasures at the end of 2013. Dating back to the 9th century, the 26 artifacts were discovered in 1987 during archaeological excavations in Dukha district. Meanwhile, the stone statue of deity Vishnu belongs to the 7th to the 8th century and were discovered in 1989, also in the same district. The treasures have been exhibited in Hanoi and New York. Long An Museum currently exhibits 20,000 artifacts, including 1,200 from the Up-El culture. More than 100 folk costumes typical of culture of 6 regions across Vietnam were praised at the fashion show Vietnamese Folk Beauty. This night show was the focus of the folk festival in the central highland city of Đà Lạt. So let's now discover the cultural diversity of Vietnam through various quintessential traditional textiles in the following report.
The Vietnamese Folk Beauty Fashion Show featured many traditional clothes, from the plain brown dye blouse of the Red River Delta to the meticulous woven brocades of the country's northwestern mountainous areas. All of them created a vivid mosaic of Vietnamese folk costumes.
Bộ trang phục này là thường là các nam thanh niên hoặc là thường dùng vào các nghi lễ, những lễ cầu mùa.
Dao ở trên Giang tôi được gọi là dao máng. Trên bộ trang phục của tôi là tất cả các hoa văn đều của các cụ ngày xưa để lại.
Less sophisticated are costumes of the ethnic groups from the Central Highlands. Skirts and loincloths made from raw materials and decorated with modest patterns remind the audience of a lifestyle that is close to nature.
Ở Lâm Đồng, dân tộc Churu thì trang phục của họ đơn giản hơn các dân tộc khác. Trang phục thường ảnh hưởng của trang phục của dân tộc Chăm.
Whether it is ordinary clothes in daily life or unique costumes used on special occasions or in royal courts, all of them reflect the quintessence of folk weaving techniques. The folk fashion show in Đà Lạt provided an ideal way of expressing Vietnamese traditional culture.
Strong and durable, the rubber used to make tires has many uses long after the tires are no longer fit for the road. The following report will introduce us to a local man from the Mekong Delta city of Cần Thơ who has an art collection made up of old rubber tires. So let's have a look.
Hanging orchid pot, king cat, selling mold, and shape of flowers are the titles of some of Trần Hoài Dũng art pieces made from old rubber tires. Dũng family in Cần Thơ has produced hundreds of artworks from old rubber tires, all to the welcome approval of local customers.
Sản phẩm này nó vừa lạ mắt, vừa bắt mắt, mà lại là dùng cái loại vỏ xe mà để mà người ta bỏ phế thì mang về nó sử dụng được về mình thấy mình cảm nhận được mình thấy hay cho nên mình mua đem về nhà.
There are practically unlimited ways to reuse recycled rubber tires. The idea came to Mr. Dung a few years ago as he came across some tires dumped on the side of the road when he was trying to find something new to decorate his house. Since then, he has created hundreds of designs from this recyclable material.
Theo làm mình có kinh nghiệm á, thì ví dụ những cái sản phẩm kết hợp với ống nước mình để mình trưng trên bàn, hoặc là những cái chậu bằng ốc lan, vỏ lan có thể treo ở ngoài cái giường kiển rất là bền. Nó bền so với kia là thấy là gấp mấy chục lần luôn. Nó là bảo đảm một điều đó chắc chắn đó.
As for Mr. Trần Hoài Dũng, he will continue searching for new ideas to create more artwork from old rubber tires in order to attract local customers and help save the environment.
The northern province of Quảng Ninh, home to the world-famous World Heritage Site of Hạ Long Bay, has set up a hotline to receive comments from domestic and foreign tourists. Now, visitors can leave the comments by calling the hotline, which is on the screen right now, or emailing hotline@quangning.gov.vn. The opinions and responses will be published on the provincial portal, according to the Quảng Ninh People's Committee. The local authorities hope that suggestions from the public will help the province come up with more solutions to improve the quality of tourism here. The hotline initiative is part of the Hạ Long Smile Investment Instruction and Tourism Program launched early this month. Located in Vân Giao Commune, Tịnh Biên District in An Giang Province, Trà Sư is a typical flooded forest in the Mekong Delta region. Thanks to its picturesque scenery and the diversity of natural resources, the forest has become an ideal destination for visitors who would like to be closer to nature. So let's now follow our VTV reporter to discover more about the forest.
Located around 10 kilometers from the Cambodian border, Trà Sư is the most famous submerged forest in the western region of the Hậu River, a tributary of the Mekong River. Now is an ideal time to visit the Trà Sư Kechaput forest in An Giang province, as the 850-hectare submerged forest is most beautiful during the annual floods in the Mekong Delta, which normally occur between July and November.
Đối với thực vật thì có 140 loài, trong đó là cây tràm nước là chủ yếu. Về bên cạnh đó thì cũng có 78 loài cây dược liệu. Còn đối với chim cọ thì có 70 loài chim, thì trong đó có 2 loài là quý hiếm. Thứ nhất là loài con giang sen, tên gọi khác là cò lao Ấn Độ. Thứ hai là con điên điển, có cái tên gọi khác là cò cửu rắn.
The road to the Trà Sư Kechaput forest has been paved to the forest gate. This site is usually quiet in the morning or during weekdays. This is an opportunity to explore the exciting life of birds in the forest.
Nói chung là đối với cái công tác mà bảo vệ rừng ở Trà Sư thì mình thực hiện được khá tốt. Thì qua đó thì cái cảnh quan môi trường ở Trà Sư nói chung ngày càng được hấp dẫn, cũng hấp dẫn đối với các cái du khách. Thì nói chung ở Trà Sư thì nó khu cảnh quan Trà Sư thì nó cũng có mang bản sắc đặc trưng của khu vực đồng bằng Sông Cửu Long. Cụ thể là vùng Tây sông Hậu thì nó cũng là hấp dẫn khách du lịch đến với Trà Sư ngày càng đông.
Every year, the forest receives around 10,000 visitors, and the best time to take a trip is between September and Tết, when water covers the whole area, providing unforgettable landscapes. After sitting in a motorboat for 40 minutes to contemplate their natural surroundings, travelers take to the rowing boats or dinghies to see birds and storks return home and build nests.
Con
Đúng rồi.
Đang rình cá.
Ta dường như là mỗi một cây tràm nó là một cái cơ thể sống, nó được người ta nâng niu chăm sóc. Thế và bên cạnh những cây tràm ấy là cái rừng chim ấy, những con diệc, những con cò, là những con le, những con diệc rất là đẹp và nó gần gũi lắm. Khi mình đi ở ngoài này thì mình đi bằng cái tắc ráng, nhưng mà khi mình đi vào trong đó là mình đi bằng cái xuồng chèo tay cho nó êm đềm và chim cò nó đỗ hai bên đường này.
Rất là tuyệt vời, nhiều chim lớn nữa mà rất là nhiều. Gáo rồng thì tôi cũng tới rồi, nhưng mà chim thì ban ngày không có. 5 giờ buổi sáng, 6 giờ sáng, 5 giờ sáng chưa ngủ dậy nó đã đi ăn rồi. 5 giờ chiều mới về thì tối thui rồi. Còn ở đây ban ngày cũng đã nhìn thấy chim. Cho nên nếu mà đi coi chim, coi rừng tràm thì tới đây là địa điểm tuyệt vời.
Chasu is home to 140 floral types, 70 species of birds, 11 types of animals, 20 species of reptiles, and 22 kinds of fish. This forest has a lot of potential to develop ecotourism, outdoor activities, and exploration, as well as giving scientists a chance to learn about the local environment and a typical ecological system of the southern region.
You're tuning in to Art Culture Mosaic, the weekly journal featuring the rich cultural diversity of Vietnam and vibrant international cultural events happening around the country. We hope to become the bridge connecting artists and the words with our viewers out there. So don't go away. We have a lot more in this week's installment coming for you in just a moment. Hailing from a finance background, but James Dung truly found his calling in photography and photojournalism. After 14 years of following his dream, James recently earned multiple international recognition as the third-place winner of South Korea's Children of the World photo competition and became one of the finalists in Mofolio's iTime 2014 photo competition. Now, in this week's edition of On the Mic, VTV reporter Huyền Chi will sit down with James Dung to discuss his photographic journey.
2 years ago, when I first got back to Vietnam after spending 10 years in America, I went to Hà Giang with my friends, and what I saw was, it is a miracle. You know, when people survive with the nature, I had never seen that in my life, and I think it was just amazing. The great thing about photography is it's a very effective way to capture moment, to store memories, and even to connect people. It overcomes the limitation of language and overcome the limitation of borders.
It was thanks to this very miracle that James Jung's photograph of a little girl from Hà Giang province won the third place in South Korea's Children of the World photography contest.
First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Now, your photograph of a little girl from Hà Giang recently won the third prize from the Children of the World photography contest. Can you tell me a little bit about your photograph?
I picked that photos for a few reasons. It was about, children in developing country with the buffalo standing for agriculture, with her clothes standing out for culture.
You also recently became one of the finalists in iTime's professional category. Can you tell me a little bit about this competition and your photograph of the street barber?
To get into this place, I'm very delighted because the judging panels come from USA Today, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all big guys in America. I remember that I submitted one photo essay, one photo story, and one photo collection. And that photo collection was about street barber in Vietnam. First of all, back to the reason why I shot those street barber images was my grandfather was a street barber himself. And by capturing those images, somehow it helped me to imagine what my grandpa did when he was alive. And another thing is, I don't think many countries have street barber. I don't think so. So it's very interesting, and I would love to show the world, street barber in Vietnam, what they do, how they are.
We learned that you came from a banking and finance background, so what led you to photography in the first place, and why did you choose to stay with it?
Actually, I got into photography way before banking and finance. I remember when I was in middle school, someone gave me a SLR camera, which is an interchangeable lens camera, and I start photography way before banking and finance. I spent six years in banking and finance, and I figure that I learned pretty much about that field. And at some point, you figure out that this is not your passion. This is not what you love. You got to do what you love because you live only once.
What are your favorite subjects to photograph?
I love all the subjects that I meet in my life. However, my favorite one is people, because I think that people are the root and the cause for everything. Culture, lifestyle, or even conflicts.
What is the most difficult thing in capturing those moments?
My favorite style of photography is photojournalism, which is exploration, production, and sharing, my topic to other people. So photojournalism requires a lot of strong images. Now, in order to get strong images, you got to understand the subject. In order to understand the subject, you got to understand the people. Of course, there's a lot of people, don't want to talk to journalists or photographer or whatever, because they just don't want, their faces or their story to be published on the newspapers. I always open my mind myself first. I try my best, to let them understand what I do, who I am, how I am, and what I am doing, how I do it, the reason. So, once they see that I'm doing this just for the good cause, they would open up themselves.
During his spare time, James often wanders around the city in search of new subjects. For his most recent project, he visited Nguyễn Đình Chiểu Secondary School, which caters for children who are blind or visually impaired.
The main reason for blindness for the children is because of prematurity birth, and some kids don't even have eyes, and they got to stay in the boarding school, which means that they live there. And the thing is, most of them are not unhappy about it, or maybe they are too young to feel the unluckiness of their destiny, and I want to help.
Now, in addition to being a photojournalist, you're also writing accompanying pieces. So can you tell me a little bit about how these processes complement each other?
If you think about media today, it must be multimedia, with many tools, literature, images, sound. So they all combine and enhance each other somehow. So many things that photos themselves cannot speak out. For example, the thinking of the subject or what happened in the past. So for those, you got to be able to use letter, to write them down. And for so many things that writing cannot be as powerful as images. Maybe the expression, the emotion, what's going on there. So I believe that combining the two tools can be very, very effective. for storytelling or to convey any message.
Can you tell us a little bit about your current projects?
I'm trying to do as many articles, as many journals, doesn't matter, it's photos or writing, as possible. And I'm trying to write my own book, my very first one. You know, it's a collection of photo essays, articles, journals about Vietnam. I'm trying to nail down 20 stories. I got 5 so far, so you know, still a long way to go.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing your book coming out in 2016.
When think about Japanese culture, one could think of many Japanese traditional sports that fascinate fans from all around the world, such as karate or sumo wrestling. However, in this week's edition of Connecting Cultures, we will introduce to you kendama and the Vietnamese love for this eccentric sport as well.
To understand Japanese culture, one must understand the love for its many traditional sports. Among these, kendama is certainly one that manifests the Japanese spirit of discipline and harmony within one's soul. This hilt is the can and this ball is the tom, which you can catch on the cups or impale on the spike. Simple as that, the sports can be played with anyone, anywhere and anytime, even in space. Friends from many countries around the world love the Japanese skill toy, and Vietnam is no exception. This was the first year Kendama Week has ever been hosted in Vietnam, and Kendama fans were there to celebrate it with gusto. Kendama sensei Itama Hiromu came all the way from Hiroshima, the birthplace of this skill toy, to join the excitement in Hanoi. The kendama master picked Trung Vuong Secondary School as his first stop in Vietnam. Here, his first cross-culture encounter began with eager children keen to learn more about Japanese culture. For these young people, the only time that ever encountered a kendama was in Japanese pop culture, such as in the comic Doraemon. Getting the hands on these was like bringing the cartoon fantasies to life. More importantly, they also learned a little bit about the Japanese culture.
Con học được là người Nhật là người ta luôn tập trung và người ta luôn có sự rất là cẩn thận. Con thấy thầy dạy kỹ thuật rất là hay ạ, có sáng tạo và trí tuệ.
Although this was the first time Hiromu and the kids had ever met each other, the sport seemed to be the unspoken language that bonded the Japanese sensei and his Vietnamese students.
The kids are so excited, and it really shows on their happy faces. This means a great deal to me.
Enough cuteness for the day. Now it's time for the pros of the Kendama Vietnam Club. While it may appear really simple as performed by the pros right behind me, this sport actually requires a great deal of flexibility and concentration as well. Let's have a little shot, shall we? So while I may have had my ultimate moment of shame on national television, some other foreigners were also attracted to the crowd equipped with exotic-looking Japanese toys.
Kendama can also be a cultural bridge between the two peoples. The joy of a Vietnamese person playing this Japanese game can make a very meaningful cultural exchange. It's very rewarding to see the smiles on people's face everywhere I teach Kendama.
Extremely addictive, Kendama features dynamic hand-eye coordination and otter persistence. One must master the harmonious balance between strength and serenity to master Kendama. Like many other sports enjoyed by the two countries, Kendama will bind Asian brothers and sisters from Vietnam and Japan as they embark on a deeper friendship into the 21st century.
So this unique Japanese sport has just brought us to the end of this week's Culture Mosaic. As always, remember to send us your comments and suggestions at culturemosaic@vtv.vn. And you can also watch repeats of our program online at vtv4.vn and youtube.com/vtv4go. Thanks so much for watching, and remember to catch us at the same time next week. Goodbye for now.